we decided that we are going to also directly take a small session for Python. Okay, so the first 2 to 3 hours, we will make sure you guys are learning Python, because what we did for prerequisite, a lot of people gave us feedback that it was not enough. They need to get their strength in Python. A lot of people are coming from outside computer science backgrounds, so they do not know anything about programming, right? So what we'll do, let's also include the same Python in a live way also. Okay, so once we learn Python, then we will formally start with your projects. Okay, because Python is very important. If we skip a lot of things that people do not know in Python, then in project-based learning, what the mentor will directly start is they're going to for the first day, right? They will start covering Python libraries. The first class that we will cover is NumPy, right? So that is the reason once they start project-based learning, they are going to start from NumPy and Pandas, all the Python-based libraries. If you do not know base Python, then it will be very hard to follow through the libraries. Right? So for that reason, let's also start learning Python from the very basic for a person who does not know anything about programming. Okay, so I'll start from that base. Now, for the people who know Python, for the people who know programming, well and good, right? This is a little bit for the complete basics we are going to go, because we have got more requests like that. A lot of people coming the computer science backgrounds. Also, because of that, we have to cover Python a little bit more in depth so that everyone comes up to the same level once we start project-based learning. Okay. Now again, for the previous things and all, we were using Zoom. Zoom gave a little bit different thing, but for since this batch onwards, we are going with Microsoft Teams. Okay. Now this is a transition phase. The reason is the company from which we have our LMS, that is our own software company. So that division, the final version of Q Connect, that is our app that was supposed to be the video calling app. Right now, it is being used for webinars and seminars. So the final version is being development. As soon as that is released, then video calling will be directly integrated in your LMS. Right now, all of you guys are joining through that button, right? So once the button takes you to Teams, basically, but it is the same thing. Instead of that, it will happen right in your LMS. Okay. Now, till now, I don't think you guys have visited anything in assignments or tests or projects, and that we haven't gotten till now. So most probably by the end of this week or the starting of next week, first you will get your first test. There'll be an MCQ test. Okay, so that will come up there, so you can get it started from that also. Then till now, you guys have received like 2 videos for basics of Python and how to get started. So this class and every class from now will also be recorded, and it will be given in the same place in the material section in your LMS portal. Okay. Along with that, any of the PPTs, PDFs, any of the content the mentors or any of us are using, that also will be pushed in the same LMS portal. Okay. So for the full of phase one, that will be 3 months, you will be using the same LMS portal. And in phase two, you will move on to different channels, because there it will be collaboration, right? So you will move on directly to using Teams over there, because that way, that time you will be placed under project managers and other people. So that time you will directly using Teams. So this LMS portal you have right now, it'll be with you guys for the next 3 months. Everything, all the videos, anytime doubt assistant that will come, that will roll up in the by 2 or 3 days. It will also start rolling up once you have something to some content to get ready. Then every panels will be there available in your LMS. Then right now, the teachers haven't given us the schedules from their side. That's why we are going a little bit at the last moment. But before today, all the teachers have fixed the schedule. So tomorrow morning in your LMS, you will get to know the rest of the sessions also, what time, what date they will happen for this entire month. Okay.
Okay.
Right. All right. So let's get started from the basic concepts of programming. Okay. Now, before I go into what Python is, I want to get everyone up to the level, even people right now in the live and people who are going to watch this recorded video later on, all of them have to get to the same level of a software developer, a junior software developer who knows a programming language, right? So if we look at it that way, Then before we actually go into programming, we need to understand why all of this complexity is there. What is software engineering? What is it all about? Right, so just a small gist I will tell you. This class will be a little bit theoretical because I want to guys go give a little bit of knowledge of Python. Right, so that's why so the starting couple of classes might be theoretical, but after that directly we'll catch up and we will see theoretical lessons, not project based learning. I will show you coding, we will write code in our editors, everything will happen. But before everything, you have to get a little bit of knowledge about why we are doing all of this, right? Okay. So once more, in this meeting, right, you will have data science and AML. Both the students are clubbed in because Python as a, we're going module wise. First, Python, let's cover that. For Python, both the batches have Python as a major prerequisite. So both of them are there in this batch. So we'll go through the same way. Both of them are the same Python, right? So let's start from here. So the first thing I want to convey is first we have to start with software engineering. What is software engineering? Even before that, what is engineering altogether? Right? Because as much as we have seen, any people who comes into this field, they all today everyone is coming into IT. Before this, also a lot more people are coming into IT. Right? The whole point about engineering should be maintained. Okay, so just because software is different doesn't mean it is not engineering. We have to have the same disciplines or principles as engineering. That is the most important difference between a developer or an engineer and a normal person. Okay. Now, what is that difference? The main difference is the mindset. An engineer is a person who is going to create things that an other non-engineer will use. This is the most important mindset, and this mindset is there for every profession. Suppose you go to a service industry, you have to have the mindset of being calm and taking, understanding people, understanding situations. That is what you'll require over there. But for an engineer, the most important mindset is to build things, to build machines specifically. Build machines that a person who does not know engineering should be able to use. The same thing comes to software engineering, mechanical engineering, automobile, civil, everything. Everything is the same. Okay. Now, what is the actual difference between software and others? In other fields of engineering, you are doing physical things. In mechanical engineering, you are doing physical things with your hand. So you're interacting with the physical world. The only difference between IT and software engineering and everything else will be the use of a computer. Okay. You are going to make machines inside another machine that is a computer. For example, if you take automobile engineering, automobile engineer designs a car or engineers a car to be specific. A car is nothing but a machine, right? But they're interacting in the real world. They're making a machine in the real world. IT engineers or software engineers to be specific, we are making machines in another machine that is a computer. Okay, that is the biggest difference. The principles are same. A software engineer will also make a software machine that a person who does not know software engineering will use. The same thing, right? A automobile engineer will make a car so that a person who does not know how cars work, they should be able to use it. Later on, you will learn a lot of principles that help us understand this, like encapsulation, inheritance. All of these principles are based on the fact that machines, machines should be used by dumb people. They're assuming they're dumb people, right? People who do not know how machines are working, they are the ones who should use them. Your machine should be capable of being used by person who is dumb. Okay. So that is the whole concept or a mindset of an engineer, that everyone, regardless of what you're doing in IT, see, you guys are in data science and AIML, the same batch. We will be becoming machine learning engineers, data scientists, data analysts. All of these jobs are still in IT only. They all do the same thing. They all help us make machines to control data, right? Data scientists might work a little bit more towards Excel data analysis, different tools, a little bit more tools. But AIML engineer will always stick to core programming. That I would say that is a core difference in our course also. In AIML, we are sticking a little bit more emphasis towards programming, learning deeper into artificial neural networks, the whole concept of AI and machine learning. But in data science, we are emphasizing more on analysis, that a data analyst will require all the skills for them. Okay. Right. So this is why software engineering, this is a contest for why we have to understand about software engineering, why everything is needed. Okay. Now that is the complete background. Now let's come to the present. Right now, what do you guys require? you guys need to talk to a computer, right? If you talk about other engineering, if you talk about an automobile engineer, he just like he or she, they don't need to learn another language, right? They interact with the real world. When you're interacting with the real world, you just use your hands or whatever physical things you have. But when you're interacting with a machine, the only medium you have is a language, right? So that is where programming languages come into the play. If you want to use a computer, or if you want to use a device that is like a computer, a mobile, many things, all of these things, if you just want to use them, you don't need any specific programming language, new knowledge. It is pretty much if you know English, if you know the language, the English language which it is built in, you can use most of the apps or softwares or websites or everything, right? But if you want to create them, then you need to talk to the computer. So when you're thinking in this way, where I have to talk to a computer, right? Now let's go a little bit basics about what a computer is. First thing is, a computer is an electronic machine. That is the major difference between us humans, who are biological machines, and computer, which is an electronic machine. We are biological machines. We have a lot of levels of intelligence. We have discovered or invented so many things. We invented our culture through which we have our languages, right? Today in the world, we have so many languages we speak, but we speak human to human. Now, take the same concept and apply to something that is not human, but we still have to speak to it. That is what programming languages are. It is nothing but a language, another language. But what is the difference between human languages and programming languages? The difference is who uses them. If right now I'm talking in English, right? All of you guys are understanding whatever I'm speaking. Even if I make a little bit of mistakes during pronunciation, or I make a whole word mistake, if things are wrong also a little bit, you can understand. Why? Because we humans are smart enough to understand even if there is a little bit of variation. Sometimes even there's a lot of variation also, we can still understand, right? Languages have different accents, different spelling. There are so many things in language, right? Take a simple language like English only, which is, to be honest, not that simple, but it has so many variations and a lot of people can understand that. But the difference is programming languages cannot have too many variations. Why? Because the people who are in that conversation, one of them is a human, the other one is a dumb electronical machine. Okay. A computer, no matter how much we can talk that it is smart, it is not. It might be intelligent, but it is not smart. It is just a dumb machine. You have to talk to the computer, right? So that is where programming languages come in. The only difference is they're much more stricter. Human to human, you can have much more like easy rules. Everyone can understand, even if it is not straight to the point. But if it is a computer, you're speaking with a computer, the programming language has to be much more stricter. Even if I miss one semicolon, or if I miss one dot, also the computer will be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand anything. The computer will behave like that because that is what it is. It is a dumb machine, right? So that is the major difference. That is what you will also feel when you're writing programming code. You will be completely specific. There should not be ambiguity. Means there should not be two different answers or two different interpretations of the same thing. It has to be completely specific, to the point, and strict. Punctuation is strict, grammar is strict, everything has to be strict. That is the only difference between programming languages and human languages. Okay. So that is up to the background of why we are learning programming. What is the whole point is we have to talk to the computer. Now again, talking to humans is different. You're not issuing commands. You're doing most of the time general information exchange when you're talking to a human, right? But when we talk to a computer, you're not doing general information exchange. You're commanding the computer. You're telling the computer, do this, because that is a dumb machine. We are the programmers. We are the people who should control the computer, humans, right? So we are issuing commands. That is why we call this as commands. Commanding, programming, coding, all of this is same. We are issuing commands that the computer should perform. There is no ambiguity. There's no difference. Right? The computer cannot say no. It has to do this. It has to perform this. That is why it is very important to be strict and clear. Okay, that is where every person faces the issue. Like they will see this as a normal language, but it is much more stricter than the normal language. All the different code you will learn, the different words, the different punctuation marks, everything matter. Semicolons, colon, in Python specifically, even spaces matter. If you have learned another language, for example, C, C++, Java, JavaScript, in these languages, space do not matter. But you will see in Python, space, new line, indentation, everything matters. It is more stricter than others. Okay. Right. So that's the gist about what programming languages are. Now let's come to our choice, Python. Now, before we go into learning Python, we have to establish why Python, because in both of the fields, in AI/ML and data science, there are multiple options. Okay. Now for this, let me just check if I can use the annotation. Where is fine? Let me use Microsoft's annotator. Right. So when we talk about programming languages, I'm going to tell you guys in this in the form of a pyramid. Okay. First thing is computers are dumb. They can only understand one thing that is above the pyramid, that is 0 and 1. This is the language of electronics. Sorry. So when you go physically, having a signal is called as 1. Not having a signal is called as 0. That is how the computer does. It gives a signal on the transistors that is recorded as 1. If it does not give a signal, it's recorded as 0. This analog ones and zeros are converted into digital bits 1 0 1 1 1, some things like this. Okay. Now this language of ones and zeros is called as binary. Why binary? Because electric signals are binary. Electric signals can be there, cannot be there. There is no three things in electric signals. You cannot have half electric signal. You can have in a voltage way, but inside a transistor you cannot do that. Okay. So when you have a transistor for electric data, for anything related to computers, transistors are the main important thing inside your uh, chips, right? Inside your processors, inside your RAM, everything is transistor and ICs. So they use electric signals, ones and zeros. These are converted into digital 1011 bits. This is called as binary bits. This is the binary number system. Only two things, 1 and 0. Okay. Now, if everything I'm talking in English right now, if I have to convert it to ones and zeros, it is extremely complex. We cannot expect humans to remember ones and zeros like this, right? That is why over the time, people have created many different translators in between. At the basic level, we have something called as assembly languages. These are a little bit old. Today, we don't use assembly directly. We have many more above them, but assembly is one that directly translates into 0 and 1. Sometimes there's also called as system language, or, you know, it can also be called as a build language or the native language. Okay. So this is the name for assembly code. Assembly code converts, eventually it becomes zeros and ones. Computer understands zeros and ones, but we can't write zeros and ones. So we make a translator. The translator is called as the assembly level compiler. It comes with the CPU directly. Okay. So these things are above the pyramid. We don't use assembly level in today's time. Okay. Before we used to use assembly languages, there is one of the most used assembly language. There is ABC, which is the predecessor of Python. Then there is COBOL, Fortran. These are all assembly level languages. COBOL is still used today in some very old bank systems, but rest of the things have depreciated. We don't use A or ABC anymore. Okay. Now these languages are above. Now let's talk about languages that are not as tough as assembly, but still very strong. That comes your static languages, top of the pyramid. This will be your C, C++, and there is another new ones like Rust. Rust is a completely static type language. Okay, this is the strongest one, which has the most control. If you learn C, C++ or Rust, you get the most control, but at the same time, you have to have that much of skill to make a manually memory managed program. Okay, so this is static and this is manual at this level. Below that comes your automatic memory managed languages, but still static. They're static data type, but automatic memory. This forms your Java, all the ones with garbage collectors. Java, there is Go, which is the fastest in this entire segment. Go is very good in this segment. Then you have C Sharp, which is Microsoft's language. Then there's a lot of things that fall in this category that are used for enterprise applications. Java is the most important one over here. It's the most famous one. Okay. Now these are not as strong as manual memory because here everything is manual. We'll come into this much more detail later on how Python does it. Okay, but for now you have to understand these words. This is static and manual memory. This is automatic memory, but still static. Below this comes Python and languages like JavaScript, And you have more languages like Lua, which are automatic memory managed and dynamic. Okay. Now these are not stronger than the ones above them, but they are much more easier. They're much more general. Below this comes, I wouldn't call this as programming languages. You would call them scripting languages like HTML. There is CSS. Then there is basic scripts like JSON, which is technically not even a language, it's just a specification. So there are more things like this which make the entire pyramid. But this is why we have a lot of languages. Even R, which is the competitor for Python in this industry, falls in the same segment. Okay. So here we have Ruby also, which is another one. So this is most of the common programming languages that we have. If you talk to the telecommunications industry, they use Elixir, which is also in the same level as Java, Go, and C Sharp. Sorry. Okay. Now this is just a rough explanation of all the languages that you have available today, which you can pick. Now, if you are going towards more into system programming, you should go above this level. That will be C, C++, and Rust. That is when you're creating complete system level applications. When you're doing application programming, this is where you go to Java, Go, C Sharp, Elixir, but strong application programming where enterprise level, complete companies. Now, when you come to everything above that, that is web development or data science or AI/ML, all of these industries stick to here, which is user level application software. This is where websites or data analysis apps, everything related to AI, all of that actually is over here. This is where Python, JavaScript is there, two of the most important and the most famous programming languages, right? And below this is all scripting, which is specific to the hardware you're using. So let's not go there. Okay. So now why Python? For our industry, that is data science or AI to be more whole, data science and AI is predominantly going to be there in Python. The reason for this is people, right? Python is very general. Python is easy to learn. That is the reason data science, I would say, is only half programming, half mathematics. That is statistics. Data science and AI/ML also. When you're learning machine learning, there also you will see a lot of emphasis on statistics. Statistics creates half of the theory in data science, which is not true for other fields. If you go to system programming, web development, here programming becomes the main thing. You need programmers main. But in data science, statisticians are as strong as programmers. That is why for data science, the language of choice, which became very popular, was a language which is general purpose, which is easy to understand, which is high level. That is Python. Okay, so there are two languages I would say, Python and R. R is still a little bit stronger to in the medical field if you are doing data analysis, specifically in the medical field related to computer vision. Right, that is where R little bit it empowers Python, but I wouldn't say in the general data science R is significant enough to start switching to that instead of Python. The main reason is libraries. Okay, I will tell you a little bit about this. Just take a general example. A lot of people think every day innovation happens in the IT, but that is not true. Every software you create holds 95% of what was there about the inspiration about another software from which it took inspiration. The same thing happens in every industry. Tomorrow, if you guys see any new car releases, it is most probably not going to have square wheels, right? We know wheels are going to be round. We know that the shape of the wheels is supposed to be round. We know how cars, there's a lot of things in cars that are established. For bikes also, so many things are established. Mobile phones are also, so many things are established. Tomorrow, if Apple decides to, or any company decides to innovate, they're not going to completely change things, right? It goes slowly. The same thing you have to understand in software, data science, AML, every field is the same. Innovation does not happen directly. That is where understanding evolution of languages comes into play. Python is so strong because of the libraries that are available in Python. Okay. As people started using Python, more and more people started making libraries in Python that brought more people into Python. So because of that, it grew, right? Tomorrow, I'll give you a scenario. If I tell you guys go and make a automobile factory, start manufacturing cars, right? You should not worry about rubber. When you want to manufacture a car, your entire thing should not go about manufacturing rubber or generating glass. There are other companies that do this. You go there and buy rubber. Maybe you go there and buy the entire tire. right? Take any car company. They don't manufacture tires. Tires are manufactured by different company. Glass is manufactured different company. Everything is different. The same thing happens in software also. When you want to create an AI that, say, for example, has to do gesture recognition, it's supposed to take your camera and figure out what the photo is. There are so many things in that. Innovation from your side when you're making the entire AI is only 5%. The rest 95% is already there. There are libraries. There are so many standards that are already there. That is the reason Python is important, because so many libraries are already there. You want to create an AI that can recognize photos. It is as simple as going to TensorFlow, getting a pre-trained model, training the last few layers. You can get it up and running in one day if you have that much data. If you are willing to pay for that much resources, that much data and cloud, you can get a complete AI in one day. That is to the level of Python that we have done right now. Okay. But you have to understand the second part also. Python being weaker than the other languages above it is the problem that happens. If you are going in pure higher level jobs, like if you are telling, I want to aim at a AI or a data scientist in OpenAI, that is where people are creating things, right? Everywhere else, they're just using OpenAI services. You go to you go to Microsoft's this one Copilot. That is nothing but ChatGPT, which is OpenAI again. You go any other company that is giving you something related to AI, that goes back to OpenAI, that goes back to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT uses Python or OpenAI. Every AI-based company uses Python in development, which is 95% of the time. When it goes to production, that is when it is converted into C++ or Rust. Today, most of the choice is C++ because C++ is direct, it is strong. But a lot of things are switching over to Rust because Rust is newer. Rust is automatically memory safe. It does not create a lot of problems like C and C++ has. We are staying in the industry for long enough to know that C++ is very strong, but you can mess up things very easily. The whole problem with pointers, managing that null dangling pointers is complicated, especially for system programming is really complicated. You go to the level of AI where you're managing gigabytes of data. Talk about pointer management for gigabytes of data in C++. It is going to be more complex. That is why 95% of the development, the idea, the final product comes out in Python. When it comes to production, when it is going to be used, then you take C++ Rust engineers and create it. That is how the industry is today. Okay, either Python or R, any of them. You have an AI, you have an idea to create some project in data science, you're going to pick Python and launch it. You can make a company out of it. The end point where users are supposed to start using it in bulk, that is when you convert it into C++ or Rust. Okay, that is what even our company does. We have a lot of AI projects that we start, but the idea for that is supposed to be made in Python. Anything you create, Python is the base because everything is there. You get your idea out. Getting the idea out is 95% of the work, right? But it's not the same in web development. If you go to web development, you don't create new things every day. It is already there. JavaScript is so popular. We know what browsers are. We know what animations are. There is no innovation happening every day. But in AI or in data science, something new releases every day. Tomorrow, if Google decides to release a new, better version of their Gemini, it is obviously going to be a new thing, right? Right now, the world is gearing up for the next evolution of AI above large language models. That will be large action models. Later on, our company is also working on a generative AI large action model that we worked for with Rabbit R1. I'm not sure if you guys know about this company. It's a US based company called as Rabbit R1 or R0. They have a product called as R1, which is the evolution of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a large language model which gives you information. You give it a question, ChatGPT or even Gemini, both of them are same. You give a question, it gives you some answer. But the evolution of this is called as large action model. You give it a query or a prompt, it performs something. So this is the evolution of LLMs that is going to happen in the next phase of AI. Okay, till now we had generative AI. That was the gap everywhere. But right now LAM is going to be interactive AI, the next phase of AI. Once we figure out interactive AI, then eventually we will land in like general AI, which is when humans will eventually not be that strong enough, right? But at this point, I don't want any one of you to fear that we are going to be replaced. Of course, there is slowly it will be replaced, but not today, not in the next 5, 6 years at least. We are not at that level yet where directly programmers are being replaced by AI. A lot of people would have heard the news, and so many people are hearing every day a new AI releases that is telling it will replace programmers. But I don't bother about that, because programmers being replaced by AI is very tough. Programming is not a place where it is as easy as get some uh, basic level thing and create it into code. Because even if you know 10 programming languages, you will not be able to create a better software than a person who knows one but very good. That is what we also advise to every person we are teaching. Don't focus on learning too many programming languages because AI can do that. Today, if I do something in Python, it is not tough for AI to copy that into Java or C++. But it is very tough for the AI to generate an idea and make it into Python. That is not possible, right? So you have to look at it in the same way. Okay. Now, when you think of learning Python, right now, I told you Python is not as strong as where is this? Yes, Python is not as strong as Java or C++, but it is much more easier and much more general purpose. That is the whole reason we will learn Python. Main reason. Because in data science and AI, every day innovation happens. Every day the try for innovation happens. We try to innovate things. So there is a lot of testing. There is a lot of prototyping. That is the biggest use of Python. Okay. I've given you all the history, all the things related to why we're learning Python and what is Python. Now, there are some points that we will keep understanding as we go, as we start using Python. Okay. So that you have to understand in the context of the point is Python is not the first language. Python is not the last one also. There are so many languages that came before Python, from which Python takes the inspiration from. Python is generally inspired by a language called as ABC. So you will see a lot of things in Python. You might ask like, why is it like this? The reason it is like this is because ABC was like that and Python borrowed things from ABC. That is why it is also following some things. You might have these questions for people who are just learning, who have never learned a programming language. And you will feel this like there is a better way to do this. Why are we doing it like this? That is because ABC did it. If you go in Java, you will see that it's because C did it. If you go to C++, that is because again C language was like that, C++ is like this. So that is the reason in programming languages. You have to know that. No, Python is not the first one. Python is somewhere in between. There are a lot of languages that came before Python. A lot of things Python borrows from them. Okay. So there are some words that you will be hearing everywhere. First thing is dynamic typed and automatic memory managed. Okay. So today let's make the background for all of these things. Then I will install Python today. I will show you guys what all required, and from tomorrow onwards we will start coding in Python. Okay. Today let's form the base of all the things needed. What Python is, what all it has. Okay. First thing is dynamic typing. Sorry for my English and my typing skills. My mouse is not that good. So automatic memory. So these two things I just want you guys to know about it. Nobody's going to ask you a question, but you have to know why Python, why we're picking Python because of all of this. Okay. First thing is automatic memory. Let's go from automatic memory. This is much more easier because I can give you a good example. So I hope all of you guys know what a car is, right? Every car has transmission, the gear system in a car. There is automatic transmission, there is manual transmission. For people who don't know, it just means that if you're driving an automatic car, the gear is easier. The car puts the gear for you. In manual car, you are putting the gear yourself. There is a difference. Now, a lot of people still prefer to drive manual cars, even though there is automatic, even though we have that much technology that automatic cars are good enough. But manual drivers are all still there. A lot of cars, a lot of percentage of cars are still manual. And why is that? The reason for that is manual cars give you much more control of your car's transmission box. It gives you the gear ratio control. You can control how much torque you're getting, how much speed you're getting, how much conversion is happening. But if an automatic car, you have to rely on a computer or a car's cluster understanding that. Obviously, if you compare good automatic cars that have very good ICT transmissions, like your supercars, that automatically very good compared to a normal Maruti automatic. Right? But we have to be very general over here. Okay. A manual car, car with manual transmission is tougher to learn. But if you learn that, you have very strong control of your car. The same logic applies in programming also. Memory management is a very tough task. You have your CPU, right? So CPU is the one which gives you instructions, but memory is actually in RAM, right? Your CPU is far away, your RAM is far away, but your RAM is not big enough. Your RAM is hardly 32 GB. You go maximum today, everyone has 1632 GBs. You can't store everything in 32 gigs. That is where SSDs come in. So let me categorize this as different memory. This is your main memory. Okay. And this is your secondary memory. And this is your CPU. When a CPU tells some task, when something is being done, your CPU will tell something to do. That time it is in RAM, but when it is not being done, it is in your hard disk or secondary storage, whatever it is. But in your RAM, again your RAM is big, right? Big in the sense compared to what your memory is. It takes 16 gigs of RAM you have. In 16 gigabytes of RAM, every gigabyte matters. It is also divided into gigabyte, kilobyte, megabyte. There is bytes, bits. It goes to the level of bits, right? A bit is the one where you're actually using. Suppose you have 16 GB RAM. For you it is 16 GB. Your computer does not care about GB. Your computer cares about bits. That level it's talking, right? So suppose you're creating a software. If you have to bother about putting memory inside this address and removing it yourself, too much work. But if you can do that work, you have power. You have enough power to manually manage everything. Your software is going to be much more faster, right? Same like a manual car. If you can do this, if you can write code to manually allocate memory for all the variables and everything you're using, it is the best software. That is what you have to do in C, C++, and even Rust. You have to manually allocate and deallocate memory. Okay. But if you can do that, you have that much power. But you don't want to do that. In specifically in data science, we don't have to do so many manual things because in data science, it is not about raw CPU power. It is about analytics. It is about performing the task, right? So in data science, what happens or any language that is automatic memory managed, you just have to give the memory to the computer. Suppose I want to save someone's name over here, right? Suppose I want to save the word ABC. I want to save this in my computer. What do? I just give a name for the name. I want to save ABC. I will tell A. A is my name. Inside A, I'm putting ABC. That is all you're doing in automatic memory managed. We learn this much more detail tomorrow. These are called as variables and data types and variable names. Okay. So you'll give a name to a location and you'll put it. Computer will take care of mapping where it is, managing memory and everyone else who can have access to it. All of that computer will do. But in manual memory managed, you're not only creating variables, you're also putting them into memory manually. That is a difference. Okay. That is why C++ is tougher, but it is stronger. Python is easier, but it is slower. That is the first thing. Automatic memory, manual memory. Okay. Now let me erase this. Now let's come second thing, dynamic typing. Now dynamic typing is not that impactful. Manual memory management is very impactful on speed, but dynamic typing is just a inconvenience if you can say, because computers need to know what kind of data it is before the data coming. I'll give you an instance. If I tell a human what is 10 plus 10, he will tell me 20 because 10 are numbers. But computers might think 10 is a number, 10 is a word, 10, 10 is a Boolean 10, or sorry, binary 10. There are so many things. Ambiguity the computer does not like, right? 10 plus 10 numbers is 20, but sometimes computers can do 10 plus 10 and call it 1010 also, string concatenation. So computers fail when you do dynamic things. But a programming language can still help a human by being dynamic. Okay, but at the end of it, it is doing it for you. The same thing like automatic memory management. For your level, it might look dynamic. For the computer, it's still static. Okay, and we'll see this in detail tomorrow. If you're coming from other programming languages like C++ or Java, you will be writing what kind of data it is along with the data. Suppose you want to store the number 10, you should tell before only that whatever it is I'm storing is a number, or specifically you will tell it is an integer or int. If you're storing hello, you should tell before only that it is a word, or in computer terms, we call it as a string. So you have to tell this before in Java, C, C++, Rust, everything. But in Python, Python is dynamic. You don't have to do that. You just give 10, Python will take care of what to do. Okay. So that is dynamic typing. These are the two most important things about Python, basic things, okay, which everyone should know. Now there are more advanced things that if you know, you can understand Python better. First thing is how Python actually performs, how it works. Okay. Now this is again a difference. There are two things over here called as compilers and interpreters. Okay. Now let's go a little bit behind. Let's go back into humans versus computers. For a human, if you want to learn Python, what do you have to do? Like this, you have to join a class or you have to have a teacher who will teach you all the rules of Python because a human is knowledge transfer. There is learning involved, right? But for a computer, there is no learning involved. If your computer has to learn Python, all you do is download the Python's interpreter. Now, why do we call it interpreter? Right? What exactly are you installing? You're I'll show you where to download, what to download. Okay. You're downloading a specific software and you're installing it in your computers. This is the translator. The general word for it is a translator. It will take Python or Java or C++ code, convert it into machine level code or byte code sometimes, or sometimes even direct binary also. All of these things are called as translators. These are all the software you install. But translator is a very general term. No, we call it much more specific based on what they are. Okay. So Python's case, we call the translator as an interpreter because Python does not do extra things. When you write Python code, okay, suppose this is a line of Python code, it goes into your CPU directly. Inside your CPU, it is translated line by line or block by block. Here it is translated and then it is executed. At the same time, it is translated and executed. This is what happens in the case of Python because Python is an interpreted language. Okay. Now, when you come to compilers, that is C, C++, you have the Rust compiler, you have the Golang compiler, Java. These are all compiled languages. Compiled languages, what happens? Instead of interpreter, they have something called as a compiler, which is instead of a one-step process like this, it is a two-step process. Okay. So in compilers, what happens? You write your C language code. And then you have a step called as compilation. In this compilation step, this C language code is converted into an intermediary temporary language. This language we call it as byte code in case of C, or in case of Java it is object code. In case of Rust it is just machine specific binary code. This is a temporary file. It is always generated. Okay. Now when this is during compilation, first you compile, then you give it to the CPU. So it is not translating. Okay. It is compiling, then it is running in case of other languages. In case of Python, the translation and the execution is happening at the same time. This is the main reason Python is slower than C++ and C. Because in C++ and C, there are two steps. First step, you compile everything and keep. Then you run the faster code. But in Python, compilation, translation, interpretation, memory management, binding, everything happens during execution. Everything is happening at the same time. So that is slower. But in other languages, we do some things before only and keep. So while we are running, it is much more faster. Okay. But the downside about this is there is an extra step, compilation or build step. And usually this creates extra memory, extra management, extra things. Okay. But this is the reason Python is slower than Go, Java, C++, other languages that are in other segments. Okay, but you should not look at it like it is bad, it is slow. We don't use it in the same place. Okay, if you think of it like that, then technically C is the strongest. We should not even have any other language. C is the strongest. Nothing is faster than C. But if you see developer wise, there are hardly 1% of all the developers are C, pure C developers. Why is that? The reason is C is so strong that it is only used for making operating systems. You don't create operating systems every day, right? But every day thousands of websites will come up. So if there are 99 JavaScript developers, there will be one C developer. Even though JavaScript is miles slower than C. C is fastest. JavaScript is pretty much the slowest. But you have more JavaScript developers, you have more work, you have more things happening in web development compared to operating system or system programming. Okay, that is the reason you have to understand jobs also. Python, JavaScript, these are all much more general. You have much wider reach of becoming developers through these programming languages, through these industries. But if you go to pure software or system level programming, then you are learning C, C++, Rust, Go, Java, those languages. Okay. Right. So you should not think of it like it's a bad thing. It is slow. We don't care about speed over here. We are much more worried about prototyping, getting a much bigger software ready, because a big software that is complex is very hard to make it in C. Complex softwares are mostly going to be in garbage collected languages like Java or Go today. Today, most of the things are in Go. Web servers are in Go. So entire Google is in Go. That is their language, right? And if you go to Facebook, that is using Go, Rust, PHP. Facebook uses JavaScript, which is their main language for UI. So like this, many different things are there. Okay. So that is how Python works in the background. You install some program called as the interpreter. When you install this interpreter, that's it. Your computer learns Python. That is a step in which your computer learns Python. For us, we require time. We require probably weeks or even months to learn a programming language. But for computers, it is very simple. Download the translator, which is going to be either a compiler for some things. For Python, it is interpreter. If you're in Java, it is a whole Java virtual machine you have to install if you're coding in Java. So there are many different things you install in different programming languages. But in case of Python, I will show you what to install. It is nothing but a simple interpreter. Okay. So this is all the background I would say that is required to understand what is Python, to get into software and learn Python. Now let's see how to install Python, how to set up our environment. Then from tomorrow onwards, we will start looking at Python code and looking at all the separate things in Python. Okay, right. So if you guys have any doubts till now, all the theory I've covered till now, you can ask me, because right now I'm going to show you the installation part. Then we will finish wind up after that. Okay. All right. So just a second, let me open my browser for that.
Sir,
Yes. Tell me.
like I have some like basic thing to ask. Like, is Python used for like app development or game development, something like that?
No, I don't think Python has any scope in app development, because app development is a different languages. You need access to your Linux or
Mm-hmm.
your Mac kernel. So that is going to be only in, if you're in Android app development, it will be Flutter or Dart or Java, Kotlin, that is specific to Android. If you're in iOS, you will be using Swift or Objective-C. But Python doesn't really, is not strong enough for app development. Okay.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
other area which you told me, what was that?
Gaming.
I wouldn't say Python is strong enough in gaming also, because gaming requires very strong access to memory. You need real time things. Even compared to websites, gaming is much more stricter than websites also. You need strong mathematics, which is actually where Python fails. You know, so that is where if you're thinking of becoming a game developer, you would rather go for C++ or Rust. These are very strong options for game development.
Okay.
You know? They're manual memory. You have to do everything manually in game development. You have to have strong access to memory. That is where Python fails in that department. Okay.
Okay.
Python strong suits will be the more later, like usually latest industries, that is data science, AI. Big data is another industry where Python is very strong in. You have PySpark, Apache Hadoop, these are all based in Python. So even web development is also strong in Python, but not front end development. If you guys have plans to become a career in front end developers, there is only one language, that is JavaScript, or the evolution of JavaScript, that is TypeScript, but you have to be in JavaScript. Python
Okay.
is stronger in the backend web development, where we have APIs, so Python is in a different industry. But if you're thinking of AI or data science, there is no other language that is as strong as Python. You can't do in any other language.
Understood, sir.
Okay. Yes. So now let's learn about how to install Python or how to set up our laptops or our computers ready for coding in Python. Okay. So the first thing, like I told, is the Python's interpreter. I'll give you a general word for this, translator, because translator maps in every language. That's why people have this word translators for all of these things, because some languages have compilers, some languages have interpreters, and like I told, Java has a whole virtual machine for itself. So we are, in case of Python, it is simple one software. Okay. Now there are two, again, depending on your systems. If you guys are in Mac, that is Apple Silicon or Intel or anything related to Mac, you know, then you have to use this website. But for people in Windows, if anyone is using, I guess most of the people will be using Windows only. That is the most common thing. So if you are in Windows, it is a very simple task. Go to your Windows store. Okay. Now this again is for people in Windows 11 or Windows 10. If you are older than Windows 10, then it is tougher. But if you're in the latest version of Windows, which is more common, which I've seen, just go to Windows Store and search for Python. Okay. Now in Windows Store, I want you guys to install anything above 3.10. Search for Python, you'll get many versions over here. Okay. You'll get Python starting from 3.8, 7 like that. But make sure you're installing things about 10. You can go for 10, 11, 12. Any of these three. These three are in the same family right now. Okay. You can go for the latest one, 12, but I don't think 13 is a good option because 13 is still in pre-release. But for now, as of today, 12 is the latest one. So you can either pick 10 or 11 or 12. This is if you're in Windows. Okay. So all you have to do, search for Python, head over to any of the version like this. I'll just go for 12 and click on install. Okay. It is that simple for Windows. It is pretty much like downloading an app on your phones. Now for Mac also there is ways to do this. If you're on Apple Silicon, then you can do the same thing from the App Store, but I would not recommend it because Mac needs a little bit more setup. Okay. So this way I'm telling you, for Windows laptops who have access to the Microsoft Store, it is as simple as one button. You click the button, everything is done. You don't have to worry about anything. Okay. So after this is done, you go to command prompt and you type Python. And you will see this, whichever Python you install, once you type Python, you should get 3.1.3.12.3. If you get this, that is the verification that Python is installed and it is ready to use. Okay. So that is how simple for Windows users. Just go head over to store, download 3.10 or 11 or 12 of Python. Okay. That is all we have to do for the most basic thing. There is one more software, couple more softwares I will tell you after this, but for the most basic one, we need Python compulsory. Okay. Now this for Windows or people who have access to store. Now for the people who do not have access to Windows Store, or if you're in Windows 7, 8 or older version of Windows, or if you're anything else, if you're in Linux or you're in Mac or any other operating system, then best option is to go to the python.org official Python website, python.org. Okay. Head over to this website and head over to downloads. And here you can download for any specific web OS you have. If you're on Windows, then you can go for a, see, usually if you click this big button, then it will find out which OS you have from the browser, it will download it directly. Or if you're on something else, you can go for Linux or Mac and make sure you're reading a little bit more about Mac. Mac is a little bit messy. If you're in Mac, then specifically the newer versions of Mac that use Apple M1 chips, there's a lot of mess when you go later on to TensorFlow and bigger libraries that make use of graphic cards. Okay, that time Apple Mac becomes messy for Python and computer vision. But as of this point, don't worry too much. Just head over to this website and download anything that is available for your OS and your device. Okay. And but there is one more thing over here. If you're doing it in the this way, it is simple. Very simple. Press one button and done. Here we install 3.12. I will do one more thing. I will install 3.11 from here and I will show you guys. Okay. How to do it if you're doing manually, because there is one step which is very important. If you mess up that step, you will face problems. Okay. So I'll do one thing. I will install this one. 3.11.9. An older version. You can install two, three versions, different. If there, it is fine. Okay. So what you do, depending on your operating system, if you're on Mac, go for the Mac installer. If you're on Windows, go for the 64-bit installer and do not go for ARM. ARM is for the embedded systems. That is for your Raspberry Pis and other things. Most of you guys are going to be in laptops and computers. So for that, install the Windows installer. Okay. 64-bit. Usually 64-bit is the best. Okay. So once you click on that, it will download a exe file. If you're on Windows, if you're on a Mac, it's a different thing. If you're on Linux, it will be a tar file. But on Windows, it'll be an exe file. All you do is open that. Before you click on anything else, make sure you're selecting add python.exe to path. This is very important. If you don't do this, you have to do manually go to environment variables and edit things, which is confusing. Okay. So if you are doing manual install of Python, after downloading the installer, select add python.exe to path and then click on install now. Two steps. Okay. But make sure you're selecting that option because automatically it will not be selected. You have to select that, then click on install. This will be there for Linux also. For Mac, I guess variables are not there for Mac, so it's fine. Mostly for Windows users, this is very important. Okay. So either through Windows Store or this way. Anyway, you can install Python and it's the same thing. Once you do either of the way, you can just head over to any command prompt and click on and type the word Python. Okay. Since I installed 3.11.9 after 12, it is selecting as this one as the latest one. But you can see 3.11.9. That is the one I installed right now. Okay.
Sir, the path will be chosen by default by the Microsoft Store, right?
Yes, but for me, two paths will be there because I installed two versions I've installed. Right? So what happens in environment variables, there will be multiple records in the environment variables, one directly into my 3.12, one to my 3.11. But since I installed 3.11 after 12, it is going for the latest record. Okay.
Okay, sir.
If you have many versions of Python, then the one you install latest, it will target that. If you want to target a specific thing, I will show you different things later on. We will install Miniconda, a package manager for Python. That is much more easier to target specific versions of Python. A lot of thing comes here also because many libraries will be using. Sometimes a library is not useful in Python 3.12. It might not be released. It is only there for 3.11. What you have to do that time? You have to have multiple versions of Python. So there are many things in this we will come slowly.
Sir,
Okay.
I have a doubt.
Yes. Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
I just downloaded 3.12, but
Hmm.
when I typed Python in command prompt, it is showing 3.11.5, which I downloaded on August 27, 2023.
Okay. So for that, what you have to do, I think for anyone else who is running this problem, make sure, see, which version is 3.11, is it?
Yes, it's showing 3.11, but I
Hmm.
downloaded 3.12 from Microsoft.
Okay, so I think that might be again an issue of your updates. So don't worry about that. I feel 3.11 and 3.12 are not too far apart. If you want to make things much more clear, then you can manually go to add or remove programs and you can remove one of them. Okay,
So I should delete the Microsoft one, right? If it's
anything.
already
See,
downloaded.
both are same. No, both it will be downloaded and installed.
Yeah, it's installed.
Right? Yes, it will be installed. Then you can either remove the new one or the old one.
Okay.
3.11 and 12 are not too far apart, but you have something less than 3.10, then it is tough. Okay, then you
Okay, sir.
have to upgrade. But if it is above 3.10, then not too worries. Have one or sometimes you have both also. It might be confusing a little bit, but it won't break things. So this is what I want you guys to have ready before tomorrow's class. Tomorrow's class, we one more thing. Yes, sorry, one more thing I will tell you. Now this is compulsory. Okay, having Python is compulsory for anyone taking this course. The second thing that is optional is a IDE or an integrated development environment. It is a special software that will help us a lot during coding in Python or anything. Okay. Then from our side, what we recommend is Visual Studio Code. You have more options over here. If you are sticking to only Python, if you want something more help in learning Python much more deeper, you can go for something called as PyCharm. But if you're going for PyCharm, there are two versions of PyCharm. Make sure you're going for the development version because PyCharm is a paid one, I guess. Yes, there is the paid one professional. Then if you're going for this, go for community edition, which is the free one. Okay. But I would suggest recommend everyone to go for Visual Studio Code, which is the industry standard, which is one of the best IDEs available in the market, which is free, completely free. Okay. So this is an optional one, but installing this will help you a lot. I am going to do this. It is a recommended one. I will also code everything in VS Code only. And the bigger thing about VS Code is it also has extensions. It is not just for Python. Tomorrow, if you guys are working in R or you're working in C, C++, regardless of what language or what you're using, does not matter. It can work in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code can open it. Okay. So VS Code is a very good and
And
strong
like, what is the
IDE.
use of this? Can you say
Yes,
like?
I will show you one thing. Suppose I will show you if without Visual Studio Code, you're supposed to be coding in Notepad. Okay. Now it is fine. No, I'm not telling it is bad. But the problem over here is we don't have first thing is autocomplete. You will think why good developers might not require autocomplete, but autocomplete is not for words. It's for all of these punctuation marks that you will miss. In pro, once you learn software or the code, you will see this punctuation marks that you are seeing on the screen right now. This exclamation mark is sorry, inverted comma is very important. This bracket is very important. If I'm writing in without any extra software, if I'm doing it in Notepad or command prompt, basically, you don't get all of these extra things. And the second thing is Python is very specific for spaces and indentation. There is no automatic indentation. There is no help for me. Okay. But I will show you the same thing in VS Code. VS Code will automatically help you do anything. All you have to do is install some extra software and this is free, right? Now, suppose I'm just opening for, I'm not opening it properly. I'm just showing you as an example. Okay. So this is a folder. I'll do one thing. I'll just put it somewhere over here as a Python file. Okay. .py. Tomorrow we'll understand this much more deeper what is py files. But look at it right now. Suppose this same line, if I write it in VS Code, I get first of all autocomplete of what my command is. Second thing is I get to know the proper spelling of it, which is something you will mess up a lot when you come to libraries. And then you get autocomplete for all your punctuation marks. You get autocomplete for your inverted commas. You get direct. I'll show you one more thing. If I make an if loop or I make a proper if loop, if true, you will see I'm getting automatic space over here. This is called as indentation. This is very important for Python. So all of these things are there in integrated development environment. Okay. And the second hurdle you will face is if you're not doing it in this way, then running code is very tough. Not tough in the sense it is too manual. You're supposed to locate where the actual file is, then come through the command prompt way and then run it. Complete manual process. In VS Code, all you do is press this button, it'll run for you. There's an actual error over here, that's why it's showing, but very simple to run. Press this button, that's it. Okay. And on top of that, Visual Studio Code also allows you to use many different versions of Python. Remember, I told you I have two versions. If you want, you can change over here only. It is showing me I have 3.11.5. I have 3.12.2, which is coming with a Miniconda. Multiple versions of Python you can target if you have an IDE. Okay. So a lot of things in IDE that are very useful. On top of that, you have file managers, creating new files. And once you have many folders, a real world software will have thousands of files, hundreds and thousands of lines of code. All of that you cannot expect to handle in Notepad. Notepad is a very bad choice for this. Okay. So everyone recommends any ID. There are many choices over here. If you don't like Visual Studio Code, you can go for PyCharm or you can go for Notepad++. There are many things over here. There is also a new ID that is rivaling Visual Studio Code. I forgot its name, but it is very new. That is also very similar to VS Code. Okay. Z, yes, I know the name, Z Editor. So that is also same like Visual Studio Code, but is by another company. So you can go for this one also. Okay. I guess this is much more, it looks much more better. And I'm not sure if they have on Windows yet. I think it's only released for iOS yet. Yes. But these are all extra softwares that help your development process, your developer experience to be much better. And VS Code also has a terminal inbuilt, like you're seeing over here. Any commands you want, you can run over here. So it's a complete package which helps you run the code, test the code, code everything, get your output, everything in one place. Without this, you have to manually put your files over here. Then you have to run them inside this one. I'll give an example. Suppose this is my hello world. We'll make a hello world. Okay. Now this autocomplete you saw right now, that is actually because of my extension, GitHub Copilot. That is completing it. This is my Python code. If I'm in VS Code, what I have to do, write the code over here, press the button. I'm getting the output. But if I have to do the same thing in another place, if I'm doing it over here, this is my file, right? Here, what I have to do, I have to first copy the location of where it is. I have to open a command prompt. Then this is in E. I have to go to E first. I have to go to that file. Okay, it is one folder only, but you have to manually go there. Then you have to run Python space untitled. Okay, this is actually a bad name for the file, but that's fine. Untitled hyphen one dot py. I have to write the full name. Only then I'm getting the output, right? So it's a lengthy manual process. This is much easier for me to just press a button and get the output, right? That's why we recommend this IDs much more. And it is not like today the industry looks down on IDs. If you're a web developer, the first thing you will learn before learning HTML is VS Code. It is very important for web developers. So that's why we also recommend for Python also. But there are many things you will learn, not just VS Code. Later on, you will also learn Jupyter Lab, which is another similar to an ID, but is a notebook environment. Okay. That is the reason I'm not keeping it compulsory, but I will be using it. And since it is good, it looks much more easier. You can also follow it. But if you don't want for any editors, you guys can follow simple command prompt and notepad and file manager. Okay. All right. Now let me go for Teams. Yes, Mr. Sayantan Kumar, you have raised your hand. If you have a doubt, you can tell me. Yes.
Hi, good evening. So I had a question. Uh,
Yes. Tell me.
so you said कि C language is faster as well as stronger than Python. Is it
Yes.
because it's the compiler? Then
Yes, that adds up to the most of the that is main reason. Compiler makes it faster, but other than compiler, it is manually managed memory. Right? Think of a automatic car. If the car has to put the gear, then the car is worried about putting the gear rather than driving fast. Right? The same thing happens over here. If your Python has to take care of managing memory, you have to take care of resolving your data types. It is doing too many things at the same time. That is why it is a bit slower. But C has compiler. Compiler will do that all the other things before only and keep. So before only the memory is binded, before only data types are binded. While it is executing, only execution happens. Nothing extra happens. So that's why C, C++, things that are compiled are always going to be faster than things that are interpreted. Okay. So Python,
so
JavaScript is also half, but Python, Lua are these languages are interpreted. You can write very good code, but they will never be as strong as or faster than C++ code.
so what actually happens? Like if we write same code, like a same program in
Hmm.
C and Python,
Yes.
so how does these two languages go
See,
about it?
if you write the same thing, for example, the same 10 lines of code in C and in Python. Python, when you run, Python is only one thing, run. That's it. When you click on run, then line by line, it is translating first. Translation, even though it is milliseconds, speed in the sense, I'm not telling you the scale is very negligible. It is hardly in milliseconds, microseconds. That is the difference. Don't think like the speed is minutes and hours. No, the speed is difference, not like that. If C is going to do the task, say in 10 seconds, Python might do it in 15 seconds. That is the only difference you will find. Not too much difference also. But the difference is there. Okay. Now here, suppose I have 10 lines of code, 10 lines written in C++ and 10 lines written in Python. First C++, what happens? You're compiling. When you're compiling, code is already translated and kept for you. Once it is translated, then execution means only running. It is ready, memory is already allocated, variables are already binded, only one thing happens, running in C++. But in Python, you're not doing compilation, you're only doing running. So when you click on that run button or when you do Python space that step, then line by line, Python is taking one by one thing, it is translating, then it is allocating memory, then it is executing. So many things at the same time. That is why it is slower.
So are you saying in C, before even running the program, as soon as we are typing, then only it
Not
is
typing.
compiled?
No, no, not typing. Compilation is a two-step process. In C++, you write the program, then you compile, then you run. But in Python, you don't compile. You write the program, you run directly. So this is two-step, C++, everything else is three-step. So it's an extra step that is called as building. Build step is where you compile, you do everything else. Okay,
Okay, thanks.
right. But the speed, as I said, speed is important, but it is not too much like, it's not matters every time, right? In case of websites and all, it is not milliseconds that matter. If you're thinking of making a database in Python, it is a bad idea because databases will run in the scale of microseconds, milliseconds. But websites don't run in microseconds. Websites run in a scale of seconds. For that, Python, JavaScript, that is enough, right? But if you're making a database, if you're making a critical application, if you're making a network application, all of that, Python is not good enough. That is where you go to C++. You need that strong millisecond level access. Okay. All right. So let's end over here for the first class. We have learned all the theory behind how Python works, how other languages are there, and why we are picking Python for this data science. Okay. On top of that, I want you guys to be ready with Python the first you install, and then you can also install VS Code. VS Code is a third-party software, which is again by Microsoft, so it is a trusted software and it is free. None of this are supposed to be paid. Okay, Python and VS Code, both of them are 100% free. So do not download, do not pay for anything. If you see a website that asks you money, do not pay for it. Okay, both of them are 100% free. Okay, you can get both of them ready by tomorrow's class. We can continue with learning actual Python code. Okay. All right then. So that is it for today's class. If you guys have any more doubts, you can ask me now.
Sir, do I have to download extension in VS Code too of Python?
Yes, I thought tomorrow I'll show you guys the extension, but that is not going to take time. So you can download and keep it ready, or tomorrow I'll show you guys what is the extensions and how they work.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So for Python, usually you will be getting the Python extension, and you can also get the IntelliSense, and you'll get the Jupyter extension later on once you go to Jupyter. So for now, if you're doing it now only, you can go for the official Python extension by Microsoft. After installing VS Code, go to the extensions tab and go for Python. Make sure it is by Microsoft, and you can click on the install. It look like this install. Don't go for something else. Okay, go for the original Python
Okay,
one
sir.
and install. That is how while I'm writing Python code, I was getting that different colors. Python was understanding what it is. That comes because of the extension. Okay. So yes, and if you hover also, you are supposed to understand what the actual thing is. This is also because of extension. VS Code is like a wrapper. It allows you to do all these things, but how it actually happens is because of the Python extension. So you just hover over what you have written and it explains what that method or that function is, what it does. Okay. All right then. So that's it from my side. If you guys have any doubts again, you can ask me. Okay.
Yeah, I had one more question.
Yes,
So
please.
regarding the program,
Mm.
how will what will we learn in 3 months apart from Python
The first
in
is
data
the
in data
prerequisite
science?
to be in data science, right? So first is in prerequisite, we are supposed to complete Python. That is why we are emphasizing more on Python at the starting. But after that, I think the entire syllabus should be available to you guys on the website. Okay. You can go for data science and here the three projects that you will be learning and all the skills from that three projects is listed over here. As soon as we complete basic Python, then we will learn all the libraries of Python, that is NumPy, Pandas, Plotly, SQL, and we will also learn some visualization tools like Matplotlib and Seaborn. But we will learn these things by making a CRM panel. It's a Python app, a simple Python app that is running in a command language. But this will include a lot of things about data analysis. We are going to perform the data analysis by using NumPy and Pandas. Okay, CRM means customer relationship management. This is where actual data analysis is present in the industry also. Okay, so we'll create a simple. This is actually I have to remove the autoplay over here, but right now go through the website and you can see all the three projects. After learning these libraries in the first month, then we'll build up on that for data science specifically. We are going to learn regression and machine learning, which is through which you will perform data analysis and everything in data analytics. Okay. Now, along with this, in the first month, you will also be learning Excel. Okay. The project is going to be done in Python basically, but you will also learn Excel for 5 to 6 hours, basics of analytics in Excel and how to use Excel. Okay. Then in the third month is where you will be learning specific to AI. That is, you will be learning how to perform some computer vision tasks. This is where programming will be more. Okay. First and second month programming will be there, but there will be more emphasis on data analytics if you're in data science. If you're in AIML, then little bit different, not too much difference. The difference over here is the specialization. In AML, we'll be going much more deeper into Python. So we will teach a ERP system. Right? ERP system will make use of much more programming things compared to analysis things. Then the second project in for AIML people will be using classification and pure Python analysis. Okay. Same way, third project we will go for NLP. So data science and AML, little bit of things are there same, but their specializations and what we are focusing them on is different. Okay, data science much more towards data analytics, AML much more towards programming. Okay.
And will we be learning any visualization tools?
Yes, both the data science and AML course will be learning Plotly and also Excel. Okay, so I'll show you guys what Plotly is. Plotly is a very nice tool that is used by data, mostly BI companies. There's a big four companies. You have Deloitte, EY. They use Plotly. Now, Plotly or Plotly Dash, it is called as, is a tool through which you can make fast APIs, fast AI applications or data analysis applications. Not sure why their website is not opening fast, but this is the tool. Okay. So you can make very quick data analysis applications like this that visualize data for you using a little less code compared to writing in pure Python. So it's like a library of Python, but it'll help you visualize all of these things.
No, no, I meant like specific apps like which are used like Tableau and Power BI.
No, no, we are not going to go into Power BI. Instead of Power BI, we will learn all the visualization using coding. We will learn analysis in Excel. Okay. Now, this is the reason we are putting Plotly because all the things that are available in Power BI, we can automate that and learn much more stronger things using Plotly. Plotly is the coding version of Power BI. Power BI is more like a tool version. Okay. So whatever is required in Power BI, that will cover in Excel analysis and how to make power tables, power pivot, power queries, all of these things are in Excel also. So we'll cover all of the things in Excel. Then we will come pure visualization we will do in Plotly. Yes. And if you're interested in learning Power BI specifically, then you can actually look into the business analytics or sorry, business analytics course, which specialization on Power BI and for business analytics. But in data science and AIML, we are going to cover a little bit more about programming rather than BI. Okay.
Well, we can do one course only, no, at once.
No, I'm saying like what is your career goal? If your career goal is more towards business intelligence, then right after Python is done because BI also has a little bit of Python. So this will be the same for BI also, for data science also, for AML also. If you feel like you want to learn Power BI as your major thing, then you can switch over to the business analytics course also. All of them are in the same bracket. Okay. Because a
Okay,
lot of
well,
people have confusion in learning this. If you're interested in becoming a data analyst who is going to be working in like financial data or pretty much fintech companies, their Power BI is very important. Power BI and Tableau is very important. But if you're thinking of becoming a general data scientist or a machine learning engineer, their Python and Plotly, and not Plotly exactly, like TensorFlow or libraries, Python's libraries become very important. Okay, so depending on your career, you can pick for any of the courses. All of them are designed to which careers you want to go into. Okay. So I hope I've cleared most of your doubts today. Okay. Now we have fixed the schedule. I think if all the teachers have given us the schedules by today. It will be live in your LMS and you will get emails and everything that from tomorrow, the schedule timings, everything will be fixed. And from tomorrow, we can continue every day. Okay.
Okay, so
every day as in weekends also.
Yes, weekends we will actually talk about it first because I'm not sure if the mentors are available on weekends. So right now weekdays are already fixed. So let's come get the schedule for weekdays. Weekends I'll talk about that if you specifically require only weekends or things like that. Okay.
And tomorrow is like 7 p.m. only.
I will send you a email and I will send you the information in WhatsApp for tomorrow because once the entire schedule is out, then every day's timings will be out in the schedule. Okay. I think tomorrow the class might be from 8:30 to 9:30, I'm assuming, but I will check this thing and I will send you guys in the email and the WhatsApp by tomorrow morning. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right then. And if you guys have any problems with accessing your LMS, please let me know, because most of the things we have created internally from our company. So if you have any problems related to anything that is not loading or that's not working, you can let us know. We will help you out.
No problem, sir.
Right. All right then. If there are no more doubts, then let's end this session and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you guys.